In the following sequence of drawings, we can see why an improper valve gap can seriously affect valve timing and engine performance. For one thing, the engine must operate when it is cold and when it is hot. Metal expands with heat and contracts with cold, but not all parts expand or contract at the same rate. Allowances must be made for these variations. In addition, valve gap adjustments become necessary from time to time because of wear between valve faces and seats, wear on valve stem ends, wear on push rods and rocker arms, and even stretching of the valve stem, which is under tension by the valve spring. Let's take some extreme examples to illustrate the importance of proper clearance. Here, the intake and exhaust valves have no clearance when cold. As soon as the car is started, the engine will begin to warm up and the valves will expand faster than the cylinder head. During this time, the intake valve will not completely close. There will be a loss of compression and a loss of power because the fuel-air mixture can escape during compression and power strokes. In addition, the unburned fuel that escapes through the exhaust port will cause emission problems. Both valves will run hotter because they are subjected to hot exhaust pressure for a longer period and are not on their seats for a long enough time to dissipate their heat. And valve timing will obviously be off because the valves are open for a longer period of time. Now, let's look at the opposite situation. Valve gap is twice the recommended amount. The rocker arm must travel an additional 0.15 millimeter before contacting the valve stem. The most obvious effect will be the extra noise, as the rocker arms slap against the valve stems. But much more harmful to the engine and to emission control is the fact that now the valves do not fully open, and they are not open long enough. The result is there is not enough time for the fuel-air mixture to enter the cylinder, especially at full throttle. Compression is lower and power is lost. The exhaust does not have enough time to be fully eliminated, so the valves run hotter and there is less room in the cylinder for fuel-air mixture. The extra distance the rocker arms travel means they hit the valve stems harder and will eventually pound them out of shape. Insert the 0.15 millimeter blade of the feeler gauge between the rocker arm and valve stem. Press on the push rod end of the rocker arm to ensure that all play between the rocker arm, push rod, and cam is taken up. Valve clearance is properly adjusted if the gauge can be slid between the adjusting screw and stem smoothly. If it slides too easily or must be forced, an adjustment is necessary. Loosen the lock nut of the adjusting screw and turn the screw until you have the proper feel. One way to check out how a proper setting feels is to set a micrometer at 0.15 millimeters and slip the feeler gauge through the gap. When the setting is right, carefully tighten the lock nut. Now, be sure and recheck to see that the screw did not move during tightening. If it did, readjust.